Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hi guys, and welcome to 1minutetennis.com. In today's session, I want to talk to you about the flat serve, the pure service action. It seems such a simple stroke when it's done correctly, and yet for the vast majority of players, maybe more than 99%, it remains a mystery through their whole tennis career. I want to show you the movement of the elbow and the wrist, and then I want to show you how to blend them in a simple drill that will give you the feel and the understanding of the elbow and the wrist action and help you serve with more power today. Now, there are three movements that are fundamental to the serve. I'm going to now show you what they are, and I'm going to show you how to get them and apply them into your game immediately. The first movement is extension, and as we take the racket back, we have extension of the wrist in this position here. This is extension, and we need to use that to open the racket up and to drop it into a deep scratch your back position. And then the next movement in sequence is flexion, and flexion is where I break my wrist as far as I can in this direction. Now, it's important to understand that flexion can be achieved in one of two ways. It can be achieved in a slow, muscular control fashion, or it can be achieved in a quick, loose, out of control fashion. And in the service stroke, you want to be as out of control as you can. So we're going to have extension, and then we're going to have flexion. And then the next movement is pronation. And pronation is a movement of the whole arm. It's not just a movement of the wrist as the arm turns away from the body. Pronation is important because it means that the whole arm is moving quickly all the way through the stroke. It's not stopping or slowing down during any part of the movement. But now there's the tricky bit. You've got to get these three movements together, and the first movement, you've got about half a second to do it, and the second and third movements, you've got probably about a 10th to a 100th of a second, depending on your ball toss. So if it's not natural, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get these three movements together, and your only chance of achieving this is with feel. So what I've got here is a spaghetti float from a swimming pool, and what I'm going to do, I've fastened it through the fence obviously, and I'm now going to make the wrist action, and I'm going to feel the flexion of the wrist as it hits the float and then goes straight through it. And as I do this, you can see that my elbow is going to remain behind the float. Now, if both flexion and pronation are unnatural to you, then your elbow will go in front of the float. It'll look something like this. And you can see that I have no flexion and I have no pronation. But now with just flexion, and the elbow stays behind the float and I have flexion. And now I'm just going to make pronation. I'm going to hit the float and make pronation. And my arm has turned away, but the flexion was reduced. There was a little bit there, but it was reduced. And now I'm going to put the two together, sequentially correct in the fraction of a second that's necessary to make a world-class service action. And see how now I have three references. My elbow is staying behind the float, the float is projected forwards by the flexion, and my racket is pronating immediately after flexion, within a few centimeters or a few inches of hitting the float. Now, this little drill creates a wonderful paradox, because if you can get the three references right, the elbow stays behind the float, the wrist has flexion, the racket goes through the float and then hits the fence immediately after the float. Here's the paradox. It's impossible not to achieve a perfect service action. You will have a fantastic, smooth and perfectly correct service action almost immediately. Then I suggest that you step away from the float and alternate between hitting the correct motion and shadow stroking the motion. And then naturally we would progress into hitting serves and feeling this motion, but leave the float in the fence, and you can always go back to it to recover that feeling and sensation. When you do this, you'll very quickly acquire the correct wrist action, the correct elbow and arm action, sequentially right with the right timing into your serve. And when you do that, you will have a world-class serve. You'll serve faster, easier, and simply better. And if you like my ideas, have a look at our books on Amazon. We've got the service solution, forehand solution, and volley solution. They're a blend of detailed science of the strokes, the physics, the anatomy, the biomechanics, and then super simple solutions such as this, with great illustrations that mean you can apply it to your game almost immediately. And if you want more help with your game, have a look at what we're doing with online coaching. We're helping players in over 25 countries of all ages and all levels. It's a unique blend of video analysis and then one-to-one online lessons such as this. So remember, you've got to blend flexion, you've got to blend pronation, and you've got to do it sequentially correctly in a fraction of a second. And by using this drill and then simply applying it into your serve, you'll be successful and you'll have a better serve today. Thanks for watching and see you next time for more unique tennis lessons that really work.